What's up, everyone, and welcome to Jayconomics. My name is Jay, and it's a pleasure to meet all of you. On this channel, we take a look at anything related to finance with a strong focus on investing. So if that sounds like something you want to be a part of, then please consider subscribing and liking this video to help me on my quest to befriend the big, bad YouTube algorithm. Hello everyone and welcome back to Jayconomics. Today I have a special guest with me. His name is Frank Iglesias. He is the CEO of Santo Mining Corporation, ticker symbol SANP, on the OTC markets. Now you guys have been asking for this guy to come on, and so here he is. Give him a warm welcome. Frank, welcome to the show.
Hey Jay, thank you very much for having me on the show. Excited to be here. It's great. I've been following you for a while, and hope you a lot of good success. And I thank you for having me on your show here.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. It's a pleasure to have you on. As I said, one of the videos that I did about SANP a couple weeks back got over 120,000 views. Wow. Since then, Santo or SANP has gone through a lot. The stock I'm talking about, and so today. Correct. The point of today's interview is to really get to know you as a CEO and also the company, right? The company behind the stock, because that's what you're investing in. You're not investing in the stock; you're investing into the company. So Frank, let's start with kind of like just a brief little kind of a background on yourself, as well as how Santo came to be.
Just to on my end, just to keep it real fast and jump into the Santo questions. I'm an old engineer working from the old Eastman Kodak days when I used to be in charge of Latin America telecommunications. Ended up doing a stint in China in 2005. Stayed there for about 10 years. Spent a couple of years in Mongolia, and now I have a software company here in Saigon, Vietnam, that we're currently in. So, but to jump onto Santo's history, Santo Mining became public, I want to say, towards the late 2000s via an S1, and all this information, people could go to the sec.gov. And they could, do a search on Santo Mining Corp, and they could go through all the filings. So originally, Santo Mining Corp was a portal for dentists for clients to make appointment in a dentist office. From there, like 3 or 4 years later, after it did the S1, it reversed into a mining company. So it was Santo Pita when it first went public. With an S1 when it was fully reporting. Then it ended up acquiring a mining company in the Dominican Republic called Santo Mining Corp, run by a geologist engineer called Alan French. And he had the company for, I want to say, a good 3 to 4 years. Unfortunately, it got delisted because he was not keeping it up, the filings correctly, because it was a reporting company. When I took it over in 2015, it was dead in the water. I mean, this company was totally dead. It had nothing. I don't want to say that I was like their only lifeline, but technically I was the only lifeline that the company had. Because if I did not take it, basically it probably would have ended up into some type of foreclosure or just totally being defunct. So when I took it over in 2015, blockchain wasn't even on the radar. Because of my connections in China and an investment that I have in Nicaragua in a cigar factory, I decided to say, okay, let's go down and try to sell tobacco to the Chinese government because it's a monopoly. So we tried that for a couple years on and off, very difficult. We were not successful. At that same time, as an engineer, I got contracted by a mining company, Bitcoin mining company in Inner Mongolia, to do some help on the electricity. They were, oops, did I lose you? Okay, there you
You're all good.
go. They were doing getting electricity off of windmills. They were having a lot of problems with their equipment. So I ended up putting, a whole bunch of step-down transformers and other big electronic equipment so to regulate their electricity so they would be able to do Bitcoin mining. So that was kind of like an aha moment when I saw what they were doing. But I got more interested on the whole concept of blockchain. So from there, I started to try to find programmers in this field. And of course, it was heavily dominated by the Russians and the Ukrainians at that moment in time. And I was very frustrated dealing, being in China, being in the States, dealing with Russians, with Ukrainians on the programming side. Great group of guys, but it's just the whole synchronization and time zone that was driving me crazy. And a good friend of mine in Hong Kong, that's also in the blockchain world, recommended me to come to Vietnam. So basically, just hopped on a plane and came here and started seeing the blockchain scene and the crypto scene and never looked back.
Cool. Speaking of blockchain and crypto, a lot of people don't know how to differentiate the two. Can you kind of do that for us? Because I feel like a lot of viewers don't even know the difference between blockchain and crypto.
Okay. There is a whole bunch of information out there, but they keep it like real short and hopefully give everybody an epiphany about it. But blockchain is a ledger, just like a bank. A bank has a ledger where they keep your money. Any transaction that's done, the history of that transaction is kept on a ledger. So blockchain is a ledger. Now crypto is what's inside of the ledger to do the transactions. And basically, the most simplistic way, hopefully for people to understand that, is that it's a ledger. What makes it important is that it's immutable. You cannot change it. A bank, no matter how big they are, Bank of America, let's say, if they want to erase the ledger and fix it, they could do it. In the blockchain, you can't do it. Once a transaction is done, it is done. It is there in history. You cannot erase it. You cannot alter it. So that's the biggest advantage that blockchain is going to bring to mankind, is the fact of this immutable trust in transactions in anything that we do.
That was well put in a short amount of words. So that was very good. How does
Thank you.
And so how does Santo fit into this picture?
Santo Mining started, let's call it the blockchain part of Santo Mining started with a concept of helping a company do an ICO, which was PO8, Pieces of Eight, a Bahamian company that they were doing non-fungible tokens and using the ability to grab artifacts from under the water and classify them as NFTs, put them on in the museums in the Bahamas, and then sell the non-fungible tokens that represent that asset. So we started doing work for them. From there, we ended up developing Scullies, which are basically one of the first reward-based, it's a long word, reward-based geo-positioning, augment reality, non-fungible tokens. So the whole premises of Scullies was to have an asset that you own, which was this collectible, this Scully, have it linked to geo-positioning so you would know where you are as you own this one Scully. And then I could see your Scully if you're near me, and we could have these little battles via the phone, which are like little second battles that have to do with flagging. So if I plant a flag, you could take the flag away. And then with augment reality, we wanted to incorporate a reward base. So like if I walk into a Starbucks and I turn on my AR on my phone, I could see a floating little treasure chest, and I could capture it. And if I capture it, then I could get a reward that I could redeem at the Starbucks. Okay. So with Scully alone, we have over 200,000 lines of code. I mean, it's incredible. There's a lot of stuff that it's our own proprietary programming. That's why we don't have it as an open source, because there's some IP rights that we want to protect. Unfortunately, with the crypto crash, not the blockchain crash, because there's never been a blockchain crash, there was a crypto crash. The whole project kind of like died. We have everything ready, and we want to bring it back to life. Unfortunately, one of the biggest problems that we have is that Ethereum is so expensive now.
Yeah.
To do transactions. So every transaction, just like going back to blockchain and the ledger and everything, every transaction is like a credit card transaction. So when you buy something, a merchant account that you use their network to swipe the card and get the merchant paid, they take a percentage. So Ethereum does the same thing. So any app that you develop on Ethereum, there is a cost to creating these smart contracts, and there is a cost to using their network for transactions and recording transactions. So right now, the price to record a transaction, it's too expensive for to have something that's feasible and that could generate income. So that's why one of the biggest reasons that we've been looking at Cardano for the last year. Now that it's very close to being lifetime, to make that the platform for our non-fungible tokens.
Makes sense. I mean, Cardano it's gaining steam. It has been for years now. And when you really think about it, it's quicker, it's more efficient, and it's less expensive. So why wouldn't you?
Correct.
You know what I mean? So I feel like a lot of people and a lot of projects are going to be moved to Cardano rather than Ethereum. So I think you're...
Yes, correct. I see that too. I see this year is a big year for Cardano.
Very cool.
Especially the summer and the fall.
For sure. Great, man. Yeah. Great, man. So with your vision of the company, where do you plan on taking this in the next 5 years? And what would you consider personal success and company success?
Let's start with the company.
Sure.
So company success... besides growing the team that we currently have, great group of kids that we have here programming, but on the corporate side, I want to focus more on the corporate side. On the corporate side is to clean up the company. Right now we're behind. We have a stop sign. I'm waiting for the OTC market to give me the credentials so I could log in and start updating our financials. I did do an update on a press release, and I filed an 8K just to, be proactive. So we filed our first quarter 2019, but we need to file all 8 quarters and the last 2 year ends to be fully compliant with OTC markets and be pink. I want to be able to be fully reporting. Santo Mining was a fully reporting company. Yeah. So I want to be able to grab it, file an audit, and uplist again to be fully reporting, and make it what I envision the company to be, which is out of the pink sheets into a fully reporting company. Project-wise, okay, what is dear to me is going to be Pixie Art, which is the ability to grab a masterpiece, a piece of art. Let's say I'm a big fan of Salvador Dali. I could never afford a Salvador Dali. I wish I could afford a Salvador Dali and be able to hand it down, that wealth to my daughter. But the reality of life is that at this moment in time I would never be able to do it. What's sad is that 90% of all the masterpiece artworks in the world are owned by the one percenters of the world. Okay, so pixie art with NFT, with non-fungible tokens, will have the ability to fractionalize a piece of artwork. So let's think of it in layman's term, real estate when they do time sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we would grab a piece of artwork, we fractionalize it, we'll digitize those fractions, convert them into non-fungible tokens. Now, one of the biggest reasons why non-fungible tokens is that when you analyze a piece of artwork, and let's say in this case, let's say the Mona Lisa, by far, we would agree that her mouth and the signature is probably one of the most valued parts of the artwork itself. Okay, so if you fractionalize this, and let's say everything starts off at a standard price, as time goes by, there are going to be certain unique fractionalizations that will intrinsically have their own value because of supply and demand.
Right.
So that's one of the nice things about NFTs, is that each NFT has its own unique value depending on supply and demand.
Very cool.
So my vision is to be able to bring these masterpieces
To life.
down to the common Joe.
Yeah.
So normal people could, okay, so yeah, it's 1,000 people that may own this one, piece of Salvador Dali, but that one thousandth of a NFC token that you own, you could hand that down to your kids and their kids and their kids, and eventually, this may sound like I'm off the wall, but eventually we will get like Star Trek, where we are out in outer space and we own a digital piece of something that reminds us of Earth. So, but we won't go beyond that.
No, man, I really like that vision, and it makes a lot of sense. And I wouldn't say that it's too out there. I wouldn't say that it's too Star Trek-ish, as you said, because anything great that was ever made or created has been thought of as crazy before at some point in history, right?
Thank you.
So,
Yeah.
People who innovate, people who create these new things, they're all looked at as crazy at one point or another. So, you know what I mean? Like, no, I personally don't think that sounds too outlandish, and I think it's a great project. So non-fungible tokens, just for people who don't really, who aren't familiar, what would be like a simple way of breaking that down and maybe, making it easier for viewers to kind of visualize it?
The simplest way, I was a kid in the 70s. So my version of non-fungible tokens were baseball cards. Okay?
Yeah.
So that is the easiest way for people to understand what a non-fungible token is. It is a value of something that is unique. Okay? So back in my days when I collected, in junior high, collected baseball cards and traded them. They all had a different value. Hank Aaron, back in those days,
Home run king,
was hot. Yep, Pete Rose. Before he had his unfortunate fall to grace, but I still loved Pete Rose, and that was one of my favorite baseball cards. I never gave that up. I wish I had it now, but so an NFT is something that is physical, that lives in the physical world, but has a digital attachment to it that could be represented on the blockchain. So it's immutable. That's the beautiful thing about the blockchain. So nobody could duplicate it. And it has an asset, it has a value that relies, like in everything, supply and demand.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Good. So we talked about Cardano before. What is your vision with the Cardano stake pool that you're running?
Right now, the stake pool is not meant to be a cash cow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's meant more to support the Cardano network, to understand the Cardano network, because for us as developers, if we want to develop, we need to understand the whole concept of proof of stake versus proof of work, their whole ecosystem. So our Santo pool was designed more of, yeah, we make passive income, great, but it was meant more to support the infrastructure, and be part of this whole movement of Cardano and grow with them.
Cool. Yeah, because I think that was something that people didn't really understand, right? People are like, oh yeah, that's what Santo mining is. Like, no, that's a very, very fractional part of what they do.
Very, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So I just
yes,
wanted
yes,
to
yes, yes,
make
yes.
that very clear.
Yeah, yes, and I do get a lot of emails from investors or regular folks that they think that we're mining like Bitcoin, and we have all these, Bitmain machines out there, or we have all these
Yeah.
GPUs, bit mining some type of ERC20 coins. That is all proof of work. The beauty of proof of stake is that it's great for the environment. I think, what is it that BTC right now is consumes like the
Way too much.
electricity of some Scandinavian
Yeah.
country. It's crazy. While proof of stake is all algorithm and mathematical equations done with the power of the coins themselves. So as
Absolutely.
everybody delegates into these pools, that delegation creates the power to solve these equations on the blockchain, these transactions.
Absolutely. So you came to a 70-30 agreement with DNA brands for DNA tags. Can you first of all give us the use case for DNA tags? And
Sure,
secondly,
sure, love to.
dive into the deal and what it means for Santo moving forward.
Okay, perfect. So um, DNA tags was developed for the purpose of trying to find a solution back when we started it for the vape industry,
Mm-hmm.
of the cannabis industry. Back, I want to say 2 years ago, there was a lot of reports of people getting sick, a lot of reports of counterfeit vape products. Even there was a couple of people that died because of these fake
Right.
products. Um, a lot of people are using blockchain for traceability, which is great. Unknown to a lot of people, the one of the biggest blockchain traceability companies in the world is IBM. So a lot of people don't connect IBM with blockchain, but if you do a little research and go into their sites and dig in deeper, they are fully committed to blockchain. And they are fully committed in the logistic parts of blockchain and the whole traceability. So we looked at traceability, but at this moment, we found that there was a big flaw, especially in the cannabis industry, because for traceability to properly work, it needs to be mandated by the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
So if I produce a product, and let's say, great, because I produced the product, I put this special tag on there, and I sell the product to you as a distributor. Now I ask you, I say, hey Jay, you received all these, this whole container full of products, and now when you put them into your system and you scan them for your inventory, I need you to do another scan so your scan could register on the blockchain so we could have a traceability of that product. So when you send it out to another sub distributor, or if you send it out to a retailer,
Mm-hmm.
they could also scan it so we could have a historical event of that product from the inception of the product at the factory all the way down to the retail. In theory, all that's beautiful, but at the end of the day in business, that costs money. So now you're going to turn around and you're going to tell me, "Hey, Frank, no problem. I'll scan that, but I got to put another guy to start scanning. So that's $15 an hour right off the bat, or $20 an hour. I got to pay him. So it's going to take me X amount of money to just scan those products." And that goes down, down, down all the way to the retailer.
Mm-hmm.
So that cost, somebody has to bear it.
Yeah.
So that's why at this moment, traceability sounds great, but until the federal government makes it a mandate, it's not going to fly. So I turned around and said, okay, what's the most important thing about DNA tags? The most important thing about DNA tags is the consumer is making making sure that the consumer feels safe about a product. So something as simple as I don't know if you remember 20, 30 years ago, I want to say, when there was a big Tylenol scare, that there was this lunatic putting cyanide or putting some type of weird stuff into the Tylenols, and people were getting sick and dying.
Well, I don't,
Okay,
because
so that
yeah.
happened. But that happened around I want to say the mid
Mid
'90s,
90s.
something like that. Yeah. So because of that, uh, the pharmaceutical companies created a seal on the bottles themselves. So when you open a bottle of aspirin, you see that there's a
Yeah.
seal that
Mm-hmm.
protects it. Okay, back in the '70s, '80s, '60s, even mid '90s, that
Wasn't.
didn't exist. You would open and there would be just a cotton swab, cotton ball inside, and you had your medicine, and that was it. I mean, you had your aspirin. So nowadays, that that seal is so important psychologically, and the minute you
Very
see
true.
one open, you just turn around and just give it back to the pharmacist and say, hey, look, this is open, I'm going to exchange it for one that's not. So that trust, we wanted to do it in a form where people could just easily scan a tag and have the information of that product, and and see, okay, this is secure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Also, so keeping that simplicity, or what I call the KISS concept, keep it simple and stupid. Um, we did not want to make a mobile app for the product. I was very much against it. I had to fight my guys tooth and nail about it, just for the fact that if I have to download an app to scan a product, I'm already feeling like, oh no, another app on my phone.
Yeah.
Jesus, that's the last thing I need, you know. And now if this is going to give this a problem, if this doesn't work, or what they're doing. So what we ended up doing with DNA tags is that with your phone itself, and the minute you focus the phone, the camera, on the QR code, it automatically takes you to our backend server, where there it does the authentication. And then once you're authenticated, it gives you the information of the product for you to say, oh, wow, yes, this product is correct. It is Coca-Cola. It is what I'm drinking. It's good. I like it. Great. No problem. In fractions of a second. Consumers don't have time to wait their 2 minutes or 5 minutes to get information about something. They want it instant and in a matter of
Instant
seconds.
gratification, right?
So
People
so
are not
that
patient.
yeah.
So, yeah, that's it, man.
No, exactly. So now, as developers, I always say we're good developers. I don't, I'll just say good. I don't want to use the word excellent, but we're good developers. Okay, we enjoy what we're doing. We're great. We got products. We got things that we're going to be coming up with. But one of our biggest, or my biggest Achilles heel, has always been sales and marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the trenches developing software products. I don't have a sales force. I don't have a marketing team. We're just geeks. We're programmers. That's all we're doing. So when we sat down with the guys from DNA Brands, which is just, we laughed at their name being DNA Brands and the tags being DNA
Yeah.
tags. It was like, wow,
It's a
this
match
is
made
a
in
match
heaven.
made in heaven.
Hey,
Uh,
there you go. Great.
yeah, there, yep, yep,
Jinx,
yep,
jinx.
yep, yep, yep. Jinx, jinx, jinx. So what they brought was the ability to market and sell a product that has a tremendous amount of value.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many products out there in the world that people have made that never see the day of light, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of the lack of sales and marketing. So when I sat down with Adrian and his group, and I said, hey guys, yeah, you run with it, you take it over. They have a lot of heavy lifting to do. because they have to market the product, they have to sell the product. We're just doing the support on the back end and making sure that we could grow the product, the DNA tags, to something even bigger later in the future with RFIDs and NFCs and even coupon related um, tokens. So we sat down and they deserve 70%.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Because the product.
30% for, yes. I mean, I'd rather have 30% of millions of dollars in sales
Mm-hmm.
than have 100% of a dollar or nothing.
Right. No, it totally makes sense. I mean, and on top of that, it doesn't really add any stress to you or your team, right? It doesn't add any extra work.
No, no, not
So
whatsoever.
it's
Not
so
whatsoever.
for you guys, it's pretty much passive income at this point, right?
Yeah,
So it's yeah, no,
correct, 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 correct. The only thing that kind of like put a little monkey
mm-hmm.
wrench into everything was the increase of price of Ethereum,
Mm-hmm.
because DNA tags was all built
On Ethereum.
on the Ethereum blockchain. Right now, to do just the regular transactions with DNA tags, it's like $7. Anywhere from $3 to $7.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we could in the back end slow down the gas fees. I mean, minimize the gas fees, but by minimizing the gas fees, we slow down the network. When do we get the data back? So it makes it, really unusable at this moment. And right now we're in the midst of seeing everything we need to do to
To migrate
convert
it.
it into the Cardano
Gotcha.
network, to migrate it over.
Makes
Yes.
sense. So yeah, in terms of being OTC current, pink current,
Mm-hmm.
do you have an approximate date or time, not date or time, an approximate date? I know that you won't have an exact date because a lot of it is out of your hands or out of your control. But based on you doing everything that you need to do, when do you expect to be pink current?
Yes. Right now, we're waiting for the OTC market to give us our yearly access. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 years ago, in 2019, um, with the crash of the crypto, we invested a lot of money doing the Scullies, having the blockchain office in Vietnam. 2019 came, we got hit hard with the crash of the crypto. Then, of course, unfortunately, the coronavirus hit. Towards the mid year of this year, of 2020, and maybe because of the corona, we started getting outsourcing jobs. So right now we have about 4 or 5 clients that we are doing work for, and it's put us in a position where right now the operations of the company are in the black. Okay, so we're no longer in the red operational wise. To be current pink, every year you have to pay the OTC market $6,500 for a membership. Okay, but
Mm-hmm.
because of the lack of income, the lack of money in the last couple of days, I did not renew that last year. So this year I'm renewing it again, and there's a whole application, and there have been more controls, and there've been more restrictive on a lot of these OTC companies that have no websites, have no operations, have no physical brick and mortars. So as you've noticed the last couple of months, the SEC has shut down a lot of these small OTC microcap companies because they have not
Yeah.
been reporting anything. And there's some new regulations coming in by the middle of this year that microcap companies have to be compliant and at least at the yield sign. So that has brought an avalanche, from my understanding, to the OTC market for their regular process. So we've been back and forth with the OTC market. There were some other documentations that they needed and more additional information that they needed that was sent over to them last week. I paid already $1,000, which they did finish the background check of the directors. So now we're just waiting. And I think that in about 3 weeks to 2 weeks, we should have the access. Once I have the access, we will start loading these queues. So we'll load them in an order because we cannot just put out 8 queues and 2 fins, 2 year ends in one shot. So we have to do the first quarter, make sure that the back end of the OTC market, their back end, their accounting department, their compliance department looks at the first queue. Once they approve it, and you know that they approve it because in the OTC market portal, the website, when you go to any company, you could see the financials and you would see it. So once we see Q1 2019 already on the portal of the OTC market for Santo, we'll turn around and upload Q2. So usually that process is 7 to 10 days. So in reality, once I have access to the OTC market, you're talking 8 queues, 2 year end, plus the first queue of 2021. So I realistically see this to be a 60 to 90 day process.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's I think it's worth the wait, right? It's worth the wait. Yeah. So hopefully that'll be done soon, and I think that's what's kind of stopping a lot of people and getting people a little bit worried because of what's happened with other OTC stocks, correct, as you mentioned. Correct. So it's like the one thing that I think people are a little iffy about. So it's good to hear it's right on track. All right, now let's move to the other thing, which kind of I guess is giving people a little bit of a hard time, or a little, like, there's some rumors going around, right?
Okay.
And so I want to address these with you and be super just upfront and super just clear about everything, right? So sure. I think you mentioned that you do as well. So there's been lots of talk about dilution going on with SANP, the stock. And in a recent tweet, you did say that the outstanding shares were reduced by 200 million. Now, can you address the dilution issue as a whole? What is going on? And also talk to us about your recent tweet.
Okay. Dilution is a subject that very few CEOs like to talk about. That's like, let's call it a dirty little secret. Everybody knows it's there, and people don't like to talk about it, okay? The truth is, I do not, a lot of people think that, Frank is just throwing shares into the street. I cannot call the transfer agent and say, hey, I want 100 million shares and let me throw it out the street and now I have $1 million in the bank account. It doesn't work that way, okay? There are certain regulations by the SEC put in place how sophisticated investors invest into public companies, like a 504, like a Reg A, like a private placement memorandum, a PPM, even to the degree of a loan direct to a company. Now, these instruments come with certain agreements, and these agreements are to pay back the investor with some type of discount to market of shares that they in turn sell it into the market for their investment that they made. Now, when you are a fully reporting company, the holding period for a note holder is 6 months. When you're a non-reporting company, the holding period is anywhere from 1 year to 2 years, depending on certain status, if the company was previously deemed a shell or not, or things of that nature. Now, when this note holder, there are friendly note holders that they convert by letting the board of directors know, by putting shares out in the market in a nice way, not dumping it all into the street and making the price just fall to the floor. And unfortunately, there's some that are very toxic and aggressive. A couple of years ago, I had an issue that I inherited some notes, and this one financial firm, GL Capital, they just came in and they just dropped the hell out of the stock, and there was nothing I could do about it, unfortunately, because of the way that the previous management had signed these contracts, where it gave the note holders the right to directly go to the transfer agent and directly grab the shares without having board resolutions, issuance letters to the TA to do these things. So a couple of years ago, back in 2015, there was a company that invested into Santo Mining, which we were grateful for, still very grateful that they invested back then. This company was Buford Capital, and the principal is Robert Marino. And as much as I thank them for investing in the company, Mr. Marino got himself into some issues with the SEC, and from my understanding, he was barred from trading stock. He tried to make a conversion, and I ended up blocking it because of his issue that he had with the SEC. And it looked like apparently that somehow shares were issued and somehow they were pre-sold. I don't want to say that somehow they shorted the market or somebody purchased them before, but it's just strange that all of a sudden, back at late February, our price dropped 300%. And then on March 5th, when I blocked it twice, because he went out and got legal opinions to be able to grab these shares, and I blocked those, all of a sudden the stock price went up 120%. So unfortunately, dilution is there in every public company. But it's how, as a CEO, you can manage it. Sometimes your hands are tied, and it's devastating. This gentleman has an issue. He is very upset. There's people, sometimes they tweet and they say, oh, Frank doesn't give a rat's ass about the stock. He's just dumping shares. So what I'm going to say is not because I want people to have, pity or empathy on me. I don't. But I want people to understand the reality of things that they don't see. So I've gotten my life threatened, okay, because of blocking these shares. People are highly upset. People want to sue me, but I am not going to permit a note holder to grab an outrageous amount of shares like that and just throw them into the market and kill the PPS. Now, we do have notes. We do have note holders. I do thank them from the bottom of my heart for supporting us in the days when nobody believed in us. Because it's easy now to say, oh, yeah, wow, yeah, Frank, wow, yeah, man, we're going to support you. We love you. Yeah, but 2 years ago, that was not the case.
It's a different story.
It's a different story. So, yeah, I have gratitude for that, okay? But business is also business. I want them to make money. Now, not at the cost of killing the stock, like, Marino invested $150,000 and he wants to convert $2 million. No, that's crazy. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Not on my watch. They're going to have to remove me, before that happens. So one of the things that, going back to the restructuring and being current, is that I am talking to their biggest note holder, so we could put everything under one umbrella, put everything in a leak out where it's publicly known, and everybody knows every month there's an X amount that's going to be leaked out because of our contractual obligations with the note holder for providing investment support back 2-3 years ago when nobody was there to help us.
Makes sense. I think that whole speech or that whole answer is very informative, because it's rare that we ever, or the retail investor never gets to see this side of things, right? And yeah, I appreciate that explanation. It's
but Jay, just to clarify, it's there. I mean, if you open my year end 2018 on the OTC market, and you take your time to read, it details who are the note holders. It details what the conversion rates are. It details the derivatives. Okay? It's there. Unfortunately, people don't take the time to read and to ask proper questions. But on my end, I'm doing everything possible, not to permit, some toxic note holder to do what they're trying to do and ruin the company, because now all of a sudden, the timing is right. It's the perfect storm. Cardano is finally out. Crypto and blockchain has finally come out of the slump from 2018. People are now taking us a bit more serious. Non-fungible tokens are now coming up to like, oh, wow, people are understanding it. Now, it's all great. It's great for the company. But it doesn't mean that we're rolling in dough and everything's good. No, it means that we have light at the end of the tunnel, and everything that we worked for in the past, we're going to see it to fruition.
Yeah, you're set up to succeed now. You're on the right path, right?
Correct,
but it's not.
Correct.
That's it. Cool. Thank you. Thank you for kind of clearing that up. Now, staying on that topic though, obviously there are a lot of outstanding shares, and that amount of outstanding shares is kind of worrisome for some shareholders and or potential shareholders. So what is the plan to address this? Is there one? And would it be a reverse split, share buyback, retirement of shares? What would that look like to you?
Let's say phase one is over. So phase one, we know, is we're going from a stop sign right now. We're fully reporting at the OTC market. Once we're there, okay, and let's say by the beginning of the fourth quarter of this year, okay. So by the beginning of the fourth quarter of this year, what I would like to see is revenue coming in from DNA tags, more revenue coming in from our outsourcing team, our work that we're doing. Some of our projects already coming into fruition. And then we want to sit down and evaluate what is the best thing for the company, for the shareholders, for everybody in a whole. If that is a combination of buyback with a reverse, whatever we need to do where it is fair across the board for everyone. I'm not going to make everybody happy, unfortunately, but we need to clean it up.
Can't ever do that anyway.
We need. The reality is we need to clean it up. Okay. Now, what a lot of people are always scared of reverse when a company does a reverse, and I understand it. I look at a lot of companies that do a reverse. One of the things that I always look at is, did they do a reverse of just the authorized? Of the issue outstanding, or did they do a reverse of the authorized? So a lot of times they'll do a reverse, and it's only a reverse, but they don't shrink the authorized. So they'll do a reverse, and let's say they have 1 billion shares, and there's 900 million issued and outstanding. They'll do a reverse 10 for 1. It goes to 9 million, but their authorized stayed at 1 billion. So when you see things like this, of course, they're red flags as an investor, because you say, wow, they didn't shrink their authorized. So now they have all these shares that they could offload again into the market, which note holders, et cetera, yada, yada, yada. So whatever we do, we are going to do it in a professional manner to clean it up, to have the company that we want to have the way we want to have it, where it's successful and it could be uplisted and it could play with the big boys, and we could, turn around and maybe even be acquired or be part of a bigger team and come in under their umbrella. But to do that, we got to clean it up.
I think everybody would agree. So that's awesome to hear from you, and to kind of hear that vision in mind. And that kind of brings me to the next question, which was that. would there be any plans of being acquired or joining a larger team, or like who would you think would be a good partner with you, or who do you think you would fit into on a larger scale?
Well, right now, I mean, I don't even think about that, because my focus is what we're doing and cleaning up the company. So it's kind of like going out to the prom. If I don't have my tuxedo out, if I don't have the tuxedo on, no girl's gonna want to dance with me, right? That's the bottom line, So we got to get cleaned up for prom night.
So you're saying when you put on that tuxedo, the girls are just chase after you? Is that what you're implying?
Exactly. I'll pull out the old Don Johnson Miami Vice outfit and.
Nice. I like it.
So hopefully then we will see. Unfortunately, I've done some type of joint ventures in the past. Like people know Asama here in Vietnam, and the one that we did with Infinity Blockchain Labs. And unfortunately, when you are in a beginning state the way we are, okay, the candidates that you get are not of the caliber that you really want to have as partners. So sometimes you go into deals with good faith, okay? But like with any deal, Asama, when I did a deal with them, they were supposed to invest $2 million into the company so we could develop a Bitcoin farm in Detroit. They only put like $50,000. 6 months later, they put no money. So I cannot sit there as the CEO of the company and say, hey, we had a deal. You're supposed to invest $2 million. You're reneging on the deal. You're not putting money in. That's it. You're out. I got to cut you.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Infinity Blockchain Lab. They had a product that they sold us that the product didn't work. And my guys were debugging their product. So after 6 months, I was like, hey, time out. This is not working.
Yeah.
We got to move on.
Got you.
We got to move on. So
makes sense.
So once we're cleaned up, we'll see what the future has for us.
That's great. And do you think you'll be staying in Vietnam for a while? I mean, I stayed there for 2 years. Love my time there. So many places to see. It's an amazing lifestyle. What have you thought, like on a more unrelated note, what have been your thoughts about Vietnam and living there?
Beautiful country. I would say after almost 15 years in and out of Asia, Vietnam by far has the most humble people, loving people, really nice.
Yeah.
China was great, but China is like New York City. It's rough. You have to have an attitude. You have to have thick skin. You have to learn to survive. I would say Vietnam is more like Georgia. It has that southern charm. So let's look at it with that Asian people are very nice. I'm floored, by them, by their culture. I was heavily surprised how, regarding the whole Vietnam-American War, that really they do not harbor these resentment against Americans. There are very few Americans in Vietnam compared to Australians and Brits and French. The Americans tend to be the minority of foreigners, but I have not seen any resentment whatsoever. They're very intelligent, very friendly. It's great. It's great being here. I do need to be going back and forth. I do have my home base in South Florida. I am looking into opening an office either in Atlanta or in Texas. Texas is becoming the kind of, let's call it the new hub of technology for America.
The place to be.
The place to be.
Austin.
Silicon Valley tends to be very expensive, and I guess they passed a new law in San Francisco that you can't smoke cigars. So, that's
So
it.
you're out.
I'm out. Yeah, I'm out,
Yeah.
But we do need to have Santo Blockchain Labs, which is our DBA of Santo Mining. We do need to have a strong professional presence in America.
Hmm.
And that's what I want to
Yeah.
accomplish, either in Atlanta or in Houston, Texas.
Texas.
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. And last question for you, Frank. What
Yes,
is
sir.
your promise to current and prospective shareholders? Why
My
should they
pro-
invest in Santo?
well, my promise is that I'm a fighter. I am not going to quit. Okay, I could be beaten down, I could be taken down, but I will get back up. I will shake it off, and I would continue to fight. Okay, many people in my situation over the years with a company like Santo would have just thrown their hands up in the air and just walked away. Okay, I have a vision of things that I personally want to do, like pixie art, to leave a legacy in life. Not to make money. It is not about money. It is about leaving a legacy in life. That 200 years from now, 1,000 years from now, there is a line of code out there that represents my second of life in this world. So to me, it's about that. And I'm just going to continue to fight and continue to build this company. And we have, a lot of challenges in front of us. We have certain people, that, want to bring us down, and I'm not going to let that happen. So my promise to everybody is I'm going to continue to fight and not stop.
All right. Good message. Good way to end the interview.
Thank you.
So Frank,
Thank you, Jay.
it's yeah, man. It's good to, like, as a shareholder myself. Like, it's obviously I've enjoyed getting to know you, and
Thank you.
it's been great to kind of get the story of the whole company and get a real behind the scenes look into everything. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for agreeing
thank you
to coming
for having
on.
me. No problem.
Yeah. And by the way, for anybody, because I know this is going to be in the comments, no, Frank did not pay for this interview. I am not receiving anything. This is completely natural because I'm an investor, and I think, I think over a month ago when this company was at 0.0009, I was telling people about this company, and now we're 10x above that. And so, I really like the projects going on here. I love the sector, and as Frank has shown you, or hopefully shown you, I think he's the man for the job. So, thank you guys for joining us. Frank, thank you for being on.
Thank you, everybody.
And,
thank you for having me, Jay.
and hopefully we'll maybe do like one of these every couple months or something to kind of keep everybody updated, and if you're up to that. So anyways,
Sure.
Frank, have yourself a beautiful day since it's daytime in Vietnam, and talk to you soon.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good day.